throw a light on the questions, the application of the spiritual jnana, the spiritual knowledge into our daily life. That is what is the key concept when we are talking about Bhagavad Gita as a action oriented kind of a scripture. Bhagavad Gita calls for action. It doesn't say you just sit outside and then forget everything. No, it demands that you take an action. Only then we are students of Bhagavad Gita, otherwise we are not. So taking that into consideration, Sandeep has proposed certain questions and we are taking it forward. We have with us Surya Kumar Singh also here. Welcome, Surya Kumar Singharu. As you rightly pointed out in our, you're there, Surya Kumar Garu?
Yes.
Namaskaram. So in our Upanishadic session, you have asked what is the, if we can take this message to the youth and youngsters as one of the steps we are trying to work on the Upanishadic group here, and the Bhagavad Gita session here, where we are trying to take it into actions. If the youth or youngsters or any person is having a question, we will try to bring that question out. And then among our friends, we try to discuss. There is some kind of a disturbance background somewhere. There is a disturbance at the background. Okay. So what we are working on is to address those kind of questions, and then it is not necessary that only I offer the solution or somebody, only one or two people offer the solution. No, that is not the thought process. Here we are having it like a proper discussion where every individual who is here has got his own knowledge, he has got his own experiences. So he will share his experience and thought process as a solution towards that particular question. We'll deal only with one question at a time. So we give about 15 days time to ourselves. After that, in these 1 week or 2 weeks time, we the concerned person will try to put it into action in his personal life. He will try to put it into the action, the various pointers that would have come during our discussion. And at the end of 15 days, we will review that particular question once again and then see, did it make any sense to him or to her in that particular point of view of that particular question? How did he experience it at various levels? In his personal interactions, it could be with his father, parents, or brother, or sisters, or wife, or with his business dealings, or it could be in his professional dealings, wherever it is having an impact during that particular point in time. That is it having any kind of an output in the way of his approach or in the way of his attitudes? Did it make any difference for him in his personal being? So that is the thought process which we are trying to work upon. Hopefully I would have given a kind of a background. Let me introduce my other friends of this group. We have Mr. Madhu here. Mr. Madhu, would you like to show yourself, please? Yeah, can you say hi to the group?
Yeah, hi to the group. Very
Hi.
good evening to all.
Yeah, so this is Mr. Madhu. Mr. Madhu is having his own business. He's working on related to healthcare segment. Mr. Madhu is also a very good childhood friend of mine, and then we are working on this spiritual direction. Then we have our friend Mr. Satish.
Hi, good evening, everyone.
Can you please show yourself? Cannot see.
Yeah. Visible?
Yeah, they say there goes Mr. Satish. Mr. Satish has been in the army. He's the nation's defender at one point in time, and after that, now he's working in a banking sector. Satish is a wonderful person. He's got a very unique thought processes for himself. He offers a different kind of a view perspective, and he's got a very brilliant mind for himself. Then we have our friend Mr. Anand. Mr. Anand, are you there? May I request to say hi?
Hi.
Yeah, hi. Hi, Anand. Anand is also my childhood friend, and he's working in Infosys as a senior architect. Am I right, Anand?
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, that's true. So he's working there as a senior architect in Infosys, and Anand is a staunch devotee of Lord Krishna. Of course, he's a follower of ISKCON on the spiritual side, but at the same time, I would see that Anand is progressing very greatly in the consciousness of Krishna in the form. Fantastic. Anand has got a lovely voice. He also sings songs. He does kirtan and bhajans, which I really love. Very nice. And then we have our other friend, Mr. Sandeep Singh. May I request Mr. Sandeep Singh to say hi? Yeah, hi. Sandeep,
Hey, hi everyone.
yeah, Sandeep has got
Hi, Sandeep.
a very nice personality with himself. He's being working in telecom industry at a senior national level. Now he is enterprising on his own self. He's got a very fantastic approach towards life, where he says that, oh, why don't we look into this opportunity? That's the best thing which I like about him. He doesn't look it from a perspective of a judgmental perspective. He looks it from the pure perspective. So today's thought processes, we are striking the dialogue with the discussion from Sandeep. Sandeep has got this kind of inquiring mind, and he's open to listening and open to taking thought processes and comments. Especially, I would request the August members here to give your opinions, your thought processes as a solution. If you were to ask this question, somebody is like, now Mr. Sandeep is going to pose this question. If he's asking this question, what would be your thought processes, and what should be the way he has to approach that particular situation? When I'm saying he, it doesn't mean only to Sandeep. It could affect me, or it could affect Satish, or it could affect Anand or Madhu or whoever. So we will stick our dialogue to this particular aspect. We will spend about 45 minutes to 60 minutes in this direction. Sandeep, over to you.
Uh, 1 minute. There's a lot of noise around me. 1 second.
So before we can go to Sandeep, can I request Anand to give that a nice bhajan sankirtana once, Anand,
Yeah, sure.
Anand, if he is comfortable,
so that we are in that continuity of that bhajan
Yeah,
pace. It'll keep
thank
us
you.
in that mode.
Sure.
You want me to share that screen or how? No, or
Yeah,
no
you
need?
can share that.
Is it
I
needed
mean,
or
yeah,
is it not needed?
no, for me it's not needed.
Hmm.
But in case others want to sing along, what do you suggest? What is your suggestion?
I can share the screen.
Okay.
So that they are able to see it also. Very simple and one. Okay, Anand, you are all able to see?
yes.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
see.
Okay.
Can you hear that mridanga sound?
Yeah, we
Yes.
we can hear, but we will
Very
not
well,
be
Anand.
following
Very
you,
well.
Anand. We will not
Yeah.
be following you. So you please go ahead with
You
that.
carry on.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Shri Radha Krishna Bhagwan ki jai.
Jai.
Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Jaya Girivaradhari यशोधनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोधनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोधनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यशोधनन्दन व्रज जनरञ्जना यमुना तीरा वनचारी यमुना तीरा वनचारी जय राध माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी जय राध माधवा जय कुंज बिहारी। Thank you. श्री श्री राधा कृष्ण भगवान की
Jai.
Thank you.
Jai.
Okay. So may I request Sandeep to go ahead with his question.
Yeah. So did you share that voice note with
Yes,
everybody?
yes, I've shared with everybody, but it will be nice if you can play it once again, or you can ask it once again.
Okay. Hi. Good evening, everybody. So this is something. This question is something which has been there with me all my life. Something which is ever since I have started reasoning. I have understood what reasoning or a logical mind is. This question has been with me on and off. Always, once in a while, it keeps coming out. So, and this has become more pronounced of late because of all the sessions that we have been having on the Bhagavad Gita. Just to give you a background, I have never been inclined towards this side of life. I have never read any scriptures. I have, though I go, I mean, if I have never taken an initiative on my own to go to a temple or a gurudwara, I'm a sardar basically. Childhood I used to go with my mom. So if somebody would push me, I would go. I have no reservations going anywhere. I have been to mosque, prayed with my friends. I have been to temples. Now also I go. There was a time when I used to regularly go to Tirupati every year, at least minimum once, maybe more than that. But it has always, Tirupati is probably the only place where I used to go on my own accord. Otherwise, and the reason behind it, just that I used to feel like going, so I used to go. But otherwise, I've never been the spiritual kind of a person. Not that I don't believe in God, but then I have never initiated anything on this side. Most of the stories in mythology, are my knowledge is limited to Mahabharata and Ramayana serial, which I had seen in the TV. That's it. Beyond that, I have no knowledge. So, but when this group started, and then I thought maybe it's good time because since I am like this. Obviously, I'm not imparting any learning to my children, to the next generation, not giving them that knowledge. So, for me to create some difference in their life, at least I need to at least know the basics, and that was the motivation, and plus also a new learning why I'm here. So with that background, um, I would like to share this question, which is something which has always dominated my mind. Um, so which is about the good and the bad. We and it is specific to situations. It is specific to circumstances. It is an individual, because I have always believed that no individual is bad. Now, if you were to look at somebody, let's say somebody who's let's say serving a life sentence in prison, but if you were to talk to his mother or his brother or his wife uh, or his son or daughter or his father, they will all say that he's a wonderful person. We don't know what happened to him and why he is here. So whatever he becomes is because of a situation. Most of them, at least 99 point, maybe 99.9%, and few of them who are really beasts, probably, I don't know. I have never come across those people, but then situational, it has happened. So we tend to judge people by the kind of actions that they have. Now, we also hear from various people that whatever is happening in your life is the will of God. this was destined to happen. That's why it has happened. Now, that on one side of the spectrum, that you believe in destiny, you believe in karma, you believe in what the God has in store for you, the perfect planner who's sitting up there, he's planning everything. Now, if that is something which is what God is doing, then he's also scripting the same thing for the guys who are doing evil. So there is little that guy can do to control that part of his life. So he is that today because God has made him that way. He or she, whatever, is he or she is that because God has made him that way. Now, I also in that voice note gave this example of we all being friends, all of us, the people who are there in this group, we are all classmates. Our formative years, we were together. We had same friends. We had similar education. Of course, families were different, but most of the maybe about 10 to 12 hours that we used to spend in a day together, um, uh, we were all together, but we grew up to be two different, all grew up to be different individuals with different principles in life, different outlook towards life, different kind of way to react in each situation. So this is all I think this is all attributed to the way God has created us, the families in which we are born, the circumstances that we have been brought up with, which would mean financial, it would mean spiritual, it would mean whatever views that people have. So with all this scenario where your life is actually an outcome of that perfect planner who's sitting up, how good or how bad is it to brand somebody as good or evil, and then treat them accordingly, and then probably wish this guy should go to hell, and this guy deserves no mercy, or this guy is so and so. Uh, this is for I'm talking about, when somebody is into crime. Otherwise also we tend to, in our own lives also be judgmental about various people. So that is something which is a very complexity which I have not never been able to answer. There are a lot of times, a lot of thoughts are there in my mind for a particular situation. Some of them I know are wrong, but then not that I want to have those thoughts, but those thoughts are coming. I try controlling those thoughts, but they're not going. So and at the end of the day, a man becomes what he thinks. So I sometimes fail to get an answer to my own questions, which these questions are there. So which is why I thought that, last week, and I said there are a lot of such questions which I have in my mind. So for today, I thought I had proposed that something like this we should have a discussion and know each other's perspective. I don't know if my thought will be changed after this interaction, but I would really be keen to hear your side of story, whatever you believe is right. So I think if I have articulated enough, I will stop here.
Okay, Sandeep, can I request Dilip ji to take the lead forward, please?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Sandeep, and thank you for very clearly and vividly explaining the dilemma you are going through. Am I audible now? It's okay?
Yes, sir, you're audible.
Yeah.
You're audible, sir. You're audible.
Okay. Now, there are this good man versus the good man versus bad man kind of argument has always been plaguing the minds of people, But what we need to go beyond this. We need to transcend this concept of good man and bad man. We need to become a religious man, a religious person. Good and bad deals with morality, and religious man is not morality. Religious man is one who transcends the reality, transcends the duality of good and bad. Because the way our mind functions, anything you feed into the mind, it will kind of dissect and it will analyze and it will split it up, It is very kind of divisive in the way it approaches things. But if you want to go beyond that, you will have to transcend the mind and remove these dualities, good, bad, ugly, beautiful, black, white, theist, atheist. So these kind of dualities, you will have to go beyond that. A religious person is one who transcend. When I say a religious person, it's not the normal sense of the word religion, Like Niranjan had just a session before this, he had described the root of religion. It's a kind of reunion. It's a kind of reuniting. So reuniting with whom, It's reuniting with our consciousness, with our awareness. So when you transcend the mind means what? Where do you go, So you become one with the awareness. Okay. There is no awareness is there always with you, but we are try to cover it up with what is stored in our mind. Our mind is full of dirt. It is like a mirror and a number of layers of dirt on it. And these layers are layers of whatever I have learned throughout my life, whatever I have behaviors which I have kind of developed, inculcated over a period of time. Whatever my experiences are, these are all layers of dust, basically. And that is kind of fogging my visibility. That is kind of corrupting my visibility. So when I look at my own reflection, I don't see me. I am not able to see me. So the awakening is there, the myself is there, but it is covered with so much of dust. I'm not going to go into right and wrong of that dust. Some may say that, okay, this is useful, this is not. I'm not also saying that to lead a very psychological life, I need to have education, that's a very psychological way of living the life, that there is a script society has written, I have to follow it, so I have to do it. So I'm doing it. Now, if the society was structured in a different way, like it used to be in the olden days, that no school, no education, people were still surviving. They were going to, but there were good and bad things there also, there are good and bad things here also. But ultimately, as we go along, I mean, given that situation one, which was prehistoric, or situation two, which is modern and contemporary, at a very basal level, at a very basic level, things are still the same, So when I say transcend the mind is to look beyond these layers of dust which you have accumulated and look at your real being, the real self. So there will be a lot of unconditioning. And Sandeep, actually you are blessed because you have not gone through the scriptures. Okay. The more knowledge you add, you're creating more layers of dust on your mind. But scriptures are telling you transcend the mind, So don't rely on your memory. Don't rely on what you have stored, learned over a period of time, what is in your mind. So in a way, you have to unlearn less. People who have mastered in scriptures, Gitas and whatever other scriptures are there, they have to unlearn a lot more than what you have to do, So you're kind of a virgin territory to say. So the point is that how to clean that dust, That's a very there are various ways of doing it, and the scriptures gives you that way, that there is bhakti marga, or there is karma yoga, there is knowledge jnana marga. So what to learn about Upanishad is going through the jnana marga. So you want to do that, so you learn about that, and they will tell you methods and ways to go about it, Now, when I say refer to scriptures or Upanishad, means they are just the GPS for you. They are the positioning system. So they will tell you. It's a kind of a wayfinding tool only. It is not. It is not end in itself. It is means to an end. So where we how to get rid of it, you know from there. Okay. The point is, most of the scriptures will tell you to unload the whatever accumulations which you have. Mind is an accumulation, body is an accumulation. Mind is not me. If I possess a car, if I possess a house, the house is not me, car is not me, the mind is not me, the body is not me. All this is an accumulation. So, but the way the things have we have been conditioned over a period of time is that we get so identified with it. Now, if the conditioning had been that I don't get identified with the body, I don't get identified with the mind, then I want to get identified only with things which are eternal. Now, all these things, body, mind, everything, they are very transient. Today, I am in good health. Tomorrow, I am not in good health. Today, my body is there. It is not there. Today, I have this memory. Tomorrow, I have a new memory. So, these kind of things, I have to shed them. I have to not get attached to it. So, or I don't have to get identified with it. So once I am not identified, or if I am already identified, then I have to find out ways and means or do that yoga or whatever to get disidentified with it, unattached with it, and then try to find my true self. Once I awaken myself and try to find my true self, or find my true self, that is my awakening. Now, you don't have to find anything. It is already there within you. All you need to do is dust it off a bit, and then you're ready to go. So, coming back to my original point, that good man is not necessarily religious. His goodness is out of great effort, so because he is fighting with the bad quality, he's suppressing the bad ones, and he is trying to do the good ones. Untruthfulness, dishonesty, violence, all these he's trying to suppress that, and he's trying to but they are there. His mind is full of the good and bad things. Only thing is, the good things he's practicing, bad things he's suppressing. So when I say religious, means these things are not there. When a religious person, morality is a byproduct. So when you become religious, I don't have to put an effort. I mean, when you lose the sense of I, when you are a religious person, you lose the sense of I, then there is no person to put that effort in. So who's putting in the effort? So that is why when we say we reach that stage of awakening, or stage when I'm one with my consciousness, at that time I lose that sense of ego. And sense of ego means there is no doer. So when there is no doer, there is no identification with anything. So in that case, my sense of being is not limited to my physical limits.
Dilipji, we lost your connectivity. Dilipji, you are able to hear? Hello? Dilipji?
Of my physical limits. So I come to a stage where everything is me. So when everything becomes me, in that case scenario, like today, if I just do it, having fire and fire on my hand, I will never do it. I will never harm myself. Nobody has to teach me that thing. I have realized it. The other bodies are me. When I have that expanded self, expanded notion of expanded self, then I will not harm anyone. It becomes a byproduct actually. So, so there the question of morality does not arise because there is no good or bad. Whatever that consciousness does is good, and whatever that consciousness doesn't do is bad. That is the only distinction. I think I will. I have just done enough to trigger off. I can talk for maybe another 1.5 hours on this, if not stopped. But I think I have triggered enough points for discussion, and I will let other people also to share their views, and then see where we go. You know? Yeah, thank you so much, Sandeep, and thank you so much, Niranjan, and thank you for patient hearing.
Yeah, thank you. So any group member, if they have any comments or thoughts, request you to please share your thought processes on the question raised by Sandeep. Dr. Sujata Garu or Annie Garu or
Yes, sir.
yeah, please.
Uh, so this is Sujata.
Yeah.
I'm reminded of a story which I learned long ago. Maybe that can answer his question. There was a king, who had a prince whom he lost.
Are you all able to hear Dr. Sujata Garu? I'm not able to hear.
We are
When
unable to
the
hear.
boy was very, very small.
Okay.
The
Sorry, Andy, we lost
able
you
to
for a while. Dr.
cannot.
Sujata Garu, can you please repeat once again?
Yes. Now, there was a king who lost his prince, when he was a small boy. So he sent his messenger all around to find out if the boy is somewhere, in the forest or somewhere he's with all the, marks of the boy. Then we never had this photograph and all that. So he gave them some marks of the boy and they went in search of that boy. So they couldn't find. Now that the boy had become a youth, he was some 16, 17-year old, when they happened to see some of the traits what the king had, and when they brought him to the palace, that boy was actually amongst all those who were picking some papers and all that on the road. He was one among them. So when they found some of the traits that were there with the kings, like the marks that the king had told them, like the mole, and those days they used to have certain marks. So when they found a match of the same with this boy, they brought him to the palace, and the palace, and the king could identify some of the certain, he had certain things to find out that the boy is his son. So they realized that the boy is his son. The king realized, and he was now, has become a prince. The boy has now become a prince. He had to be anointed as a prince. So all such actions were taken by the king. And the same, the person who was amongst the pickers on the road, now today has become a prince. Now, but the boy was not at all happy in this atmosphere of being or living in this palace. He was not at all happy. He preferred going back to the streets. So when this was the situation, after a year, the day, when the king wanted to celebrate the day when he found out his boy, and all the arrangements were made to make it as a function. And when that was the situation, the boy, he just put on the clothes from which he came back from the street, wore those clothes, and he went back to the street. He went back to the street to be with those friends with whom he was living a life earlier. So he went back there. Now, I just answer, sir. This story I heard long back. I thought this would help Sandeep sir to some extent. So now, what is the difference between that boy? See, earlier, a year ago, the boy was the prince of this king, and today also he is identified as a king of this prince. But what is the difference between a year ago and today? What is that difference? A year ago, the same boy was the king favorite. He remained the son of the king ever since he was born. He the son of the king, as we are all the children of that Parabrahman. But now that the boy is united with the father, there is a difference between the last year and the present year. What is the difference? I think that would help us to understand to some extent that relationship that we have between ourselves and that Parabrahman, which most of us fail to realize. Have I made my story?
Yeah, noted your comments, ma'am. There was a little bit of disturbance in the internet connectivity, but the story was clear on those lines. Shall I request Anand or Satish or Gopal if they have any comments, please share. Is my voice audible? Hello, is my voice audible?
Your voice is audible.
Your voice is clear, but
Okay.
Sujata
Madam's voice is
like,
disturbing. Madam's voice is disturbing, not audible.
I see. Okay. So I think if Anand or Satish or Madhu have their comments, request you to please share your comments.
Yeah. Shall I go ahead, Niranjan?
Yeah, please.
Hi. First of all, I should thank the initiative of this kind of a discussion. Sorry, 1 second. So I should thank yourself, Niranjan, and also Sandeep for asking such a very nice question, which is resulting in the debate. I mean, a lot of introspection and very useful points of view from philosophical and life's perspective. Okay, I will try to keep it simple and short. Like, just try to rephrase Sandeep's point, which I understood. He says, I mean, I won't repeat what he said, but what I understood, let me try to summarize what I understood. What is the point of discussion? Here, different people are positioned in different families, in different positions from the society perspective, in different positions from the emotional quotient, spiritual quotient, intelligence quotient, IQ, SQ, EQ, all these perspective, right? So each one of us is having a different level of IQ. I mean, basically the kind of emotions which we can express, the kind of sweet relationships which we have around us. Not everybody is blessed to have good friends, for example. Not everybody is blessed to, let's say, you are a parent of a daughter. According to Hindu tradition, we marry off our daughters to another family, right? How many girls end up in are blessed to end up in a very nice cultured family, right? We hear so many stories that the kind of sufferings the girl goes through at her in-laws place because of various factors, right? I'm not going into the details. So basically, just coming back to the law of karma theory, right? I can give another example, right? For example, the children which are born, like for example, when my wife was going to deliver, I have two daughters. By God's grace, both of them are healthy and doing good. But when my wife was going to deliver both the children, yeah, obviously as a parent and my grandparents, I mean my parents will be concerned, right? What kind of, I mean, how the child is going to be born, whether it is going to be a boy or a girl, and what will be the health condition, whether the mother and child will be okay after birth. So these kind of insecurities come to the mind. And luckily, I mean, both my children were born safely and both of them were well off. But how many children are born healthy? Like we see many children are, for example, born with polio, which is a very big problem. From the very birth itself, the child is cursed to live a life of handicap, right? So how do we understand this? And the second point which Sandeep said is, God is scripting the good things and bad things, right? The Supreme God is all good. Why is he scripting all the seemingly bad things in life? So this is another dilemma which comes to many people. So I'll try to give the answer to these two questions with a couple of examples. The first thing which comes to my mind is an example which I want to give is today morning I was watching Mahabharata. The Mahabharata is being retelecast, if people might be observing in Tamil especially, in the Vijay TV. My mother watches it regularly. So I happen sometimes I sit with her and watch Mahabharata. Some scenes are very interesting. So today's scene was, Maharaj Drupada, who is father of Draupadi. He is really disturbed. Why he is disturbed? First of all, he didn't know the 5 so-called well-built, handsome people. He was not able to recognize them as Pandavas, and they are coming and standing in front of him. And actually, they had come to the Swayamvara and actually Arjuna had won Draupadi in the marriage, and because of some will of providence, because of Mother Kunti Devi, she had to be distributed equally among the 5 husbands. And what I came to know from today's story, and more I try to study about Draupadi's experience and the kind of mental trauma she has gone through, which I was not aware of until now. I was thinking that, I was not aware of the sequence of events. Of course, we all know about the very highlight of the Mahabharata, which is the disrobing of Draupadi in the very court of all the esteemed kings, all the learned, so-called educated and great Mahajanas. We call them Mahajanas. Bhishma Pitamaha is a Mahajana, or great men. in the presence of all these Mahajanas, what audacity which the evil-minded Kauravas had to humiliate her. And what a great kind of mental trauma she has undergone. Well, there are two very important lessons we all learned from that incident, which of course we know the greatness of Lord Krishna, how he protected her, but he didn't come at the very instance, first instance. He came at the very last moment because he wanted Draupadi to fully surrender to him. So that is a lesson for the whole world to teach about this incident, that if you are able to fully surrender to the Lord, then Lord will give himself 100%, right? That's the first thing. Second thing is, there is a story that Draupadi had, once Krishna had cut his finger and Draupadi had torn a piece of her sari and tied it. I think that incident resulted in today's Raksha Bandhan festival. So it's a very great precedence which Lord Krishna and Draupadi's relationship, they are the brother and sister kind of relationship, very pure and transcendental. That kind of relationship is being followed in the Indian tradition as the very beautiful, pure relationship of brother and sister. So everything has got a connection. That's where I'm coming to. So now coming back to the today's scene of Drupada, where Drupada is trying to, he's very angry because these people, of course, he wanted to give his daughter in marriage to Arjuna, but he knew that Arjuna hadn't come. He came in a disguised form, and that he won his daughter. Again with the Lord's arrangement that he fulfilled the desire of Drupada, and he also fulfilled the desire of Draupadi and Arjuna. Everybody's desire was fulfilled indirectly. But the dilemma and the great mental trauma started happening when Kunti Devi said, whatever you got, whatever gift you got, you distribute equally with your brothers. And that order could not be taken back, right? I don't know. These are the very strange kind of the Vedic times. And for some reason, that they all had to, it's unheard of in today's modern world. I mean, a woman marrying 5 husbands, right? And then later Krishna is going to Draupadi's room and he's trying to console her. And of course, Krishna says, before that, Drupada is, when Lord Krishna comes and tells Drupada that, that my dear king, please don't shoot your arrow at them. Please calm down. Do you know who they are? They are the Pandavas in the disguise. So Drupada is actually surprised at first, but later on, in spite of knowing that they are Pandavas, still his anger is not come down. Still he is saying that you have committed a great sin. How can you put my daughter into so much of distress? And then he's still going to continue to shoot his arrow when again Krishna stops him, saying that, see, it is your own doing. Then Drupada is surprised again. What do you mean? He said, you think, look back in your past. You had actually, you had, I think, I don't know the full context of the story, but actually my daughter was explaining to me, because she has been seeing the first version of, first iteration of the episodes. So she knew the continuity of the story. So I heard from my daughter that, actually the one of the daughters of Drupada was Shikandi, it seems. Okay, I'm just to quickly finish on the story, because I may be wrong here, but for some reason Drupada was angry that he put a curse upon himself. He said that my daughter, my forthcoming daughter, is going to suffer. So he put a curse on his own daughter. And then Krishna is reminding him. Then Drupada is really shocked. Oh my God, I did this. Yes, I did this. So now, do you see there's a connection, connecting the dot? There is always a connection between one incident and the other. Just similar to the kind of speech, the famous speech which Steve Jobs gave in the famous the university. Most of you might have heard it on as a WhatsApp forward. that he speaks about all the incidents happening in his life. When he's looking back, he's able to connect the dots. And then I'm sure everybody who would have seen that video would have acknowledged with him, because they are able to connect the dots in their own life. For example, I'm very much able to do in my own life. And as Niranjan had shared in one of the sessions, that so many so-called miraculous incidents, seemingly miraculous incidents happened in his life. There are scores of such incidents happened in my life for last, from 2004 onwards, to be more specific. 2004, almost 16 years I've been experiencing very interesting and wonderful incidents, some of which I've shared with my close friend Niranjan. So the key takeaway is connecting the dots. I, with my limited intelligence, with my limited potency, I can have a limited perception of the activities going in my life. Like Dilip sir said, the awareness should be there. The awareness is what we call in our sampradaya as a Krishna consciousness. When you are Krishna conscious, or the Buddhists might call it nirvana or the enlightenment, when you are attaining that spiritual platform, the transcendental platform, automatically you become aware of the Parabrahman, aware of the presence of the Parabrahman and the Supreme Lords. Like, we call them Maradona's famous statement is the hand of God. We can see the hand of God behind every minute activity going on in the world. So that is one of the major reasons why everyone is positioned in a particular good or bad situation and suffering or reaping the fruits of his good or bad deed at that point of time. And coming back to the scripting of the good or bad things, which Sandeep's second point was, Krishna is actually, that is my understanding, that even though the three modes of nature are taking over in the material world, and so many so-called negative things are happening. Just in a recent example is the terrible bomb blast in Beirut, Lebanon. So is the Lord responsible for the bomb blast? Actually, the real reason is the sequence of events which happened. The different people who were involved in the various karmic activities has resulted, and one day it exploded and all the people who were there had to suffer. Similarly, all the people in the Mahabharata war were asked to come to the battle of Kurukshetra, and the one shot they are finished. So that is all the arrangement of Lord. So I'll stop here. I hope it can give some insight to Sandeep and others. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Anand. Satish, Madhu, you would like to share some of your thought processes?
Hi to everyone. Hi, good evening. Hello.
Yeah, Madhu, I'm able to hear you. Yes.
Okay. Good evening to all. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Okay. So, Sandeep has posed a very good question. It's related to my understanding. With my little knowledge, what I say is, I'm a person who believes in Punarjarma. What is all this karmic activity? What I feel is, from my side, for this question, between good and bad, everything is good. It's a perception of the mind. If we think everything is good, everything is good, everything is bad, everything is bad. To maintain an equilibrium in this universe, good and bad is there. What my thought process goes is, see, if something has to be called good, there is something has to be called bad. So only we can know the difference, what is good and what is bad. Maybe the reason for God to, as Sandeep said, it's scripted. Every universe is scripted by the God, good and bad. So to mainly to know for the living entities to make a difference between good and bad, there is something called to be called as good. So there should be a difference. That's why what I feel is God might have created the difference to differentiate us, to know what is good and what is bad. For that, from my perception, and I believe in karmic activity and punarjarma also. Maybe I might have done some good deeds in my previous life, that is there, and it continues to do good. And to some extent, I may have done some bad activities also, which has been differentiated by God as bad. This should not be done. So that is the way I thought process goes. Maybe I may be wrong also in this. To my knowledge, this is, to my little knowledge, what I can make out. I have, what is this I can add on to this point. I may be wrong, I'm right also. If I'm wrong, kindly excuse me. If I'm right, okay, no need to appreciate. I'm on the path. Thank you.
Okay. Well, Madhu, that was very short and quick. Quick. Satish.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very nice. I'll come down straightly to two things. Uh, it's a consciousness and your awareness which plays a role in your day-to-day conduct of life. This consciousness and awareness, when it is there, it should be aligned with dharma, and that will lead to the right action. Now the question comes, that is bad or this is bad, or what is evil. If that has been uh, done with consciousness and with full mindful awareness, aligned with dharma, which uh, every religion says, no religion says, or for this matter, or no authority says to go do any evil. It's when the actions and awareness followed by actions which are not aligned with dharma is where things go out of the way. So my take is that if your awareness and your consciousness should align with the dharma to lead your life, in where you move away from adharma and walk the path of dharma, and that will bring, if that is what is going on in your life, that will over a period of time, that will pay back in that same way. We don't have to get bothered about evil and the people who are doing evil. In this way, you protect yourself from evil as well as doing from evil also. That is what I understood.
Okay, fine.
That's what I've been following it, in fact.
Yeah. So, Ms.
So,
Annie, can I request your comments on this?
Yeah, I really don't have anything. I'm just, listening to everybody. So, if you don't mind.
Okay, sure. So I'll try to share some of my thought processes on this particular question that Sandeep has raised. Just to understand him right, one of the things what Sandeep has said is that we are all here on God's will. That is one of the comments. Second thing Sandeep has highlighted is various circumstances we are brought up for certain period of time. Maybe we are brought up together with the same kind of facilities or something like that, and maybe but the way we are behaving as an output is different. The way Sandeep is looking at things might be different from the way what Niranjan is looking at things. Now, though we would have been brought up in the similar kind of an environment, why is this happening? Probably this is one of the questions said unsaid by Sandeep. Number one. Number two, another question what he was suggesting is this, that what we are or will become is God's will. So we will try to answer some of these questions, and then finally he suggested that how fair it is to judge somebody, because he is ultimately being formed because of the will of God. So that is the kind of a question. If I would have understood Sandeep's question, is that right, Sandeep? Sandeep, you're there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so if I've understood your questions, maybe I'll try to share some of my thought processes on this direction, and how probably we need to address this in our lifestyle. Number one, we are all here on God's will. Yes, we are here on God's will, but we must understand that once we are born in this body, and we are as a finite Atman here in this finite body, we have been offered a free will. We have been offered a great gift in this human body as a free will. So, in this particular aspects, the Upanishads also say there are different stories which are there, because one of your thought process is how is the scriptures connecting to these kind of thought processes. Now the advantage of running through the scriptures is the scriptures throw a perspective. They throw a perspective on a situation or a scenario. In our software language we call it as the use case scenarios. They give us different scenarios such that we as human beings can have certain kind of a learning. And one of such things, the greatest offerings of the scriptures is in the form of stories, because like you and I, we are all children. At the time of children, we enjoy stories, and we knowingly or unknowingly we take a lesson from that story, whether we are watching a movie or whether we are listening to a story. It could be in the form of epics also. It could be a Mahabharata as an epic where we learn number of lessons through that particular stories. So one such short story which I'd like to share in this context is this. One father has got two sons. One father has got two sons. They both are growing in the same kind of an environment. And this environment is like this. The father is a drunkard, and both the children, since their childhood, are seeing him that he is a drunkard. The father is a drunkard. The elder one becomes just like his father, drinking. He also becomes a drunkard. The second child, he doesn't drink. Now there is a third person, external person, who is asking him. He wanted to do a research and then find out, though these two children from the same father, same mother, in the same environment they have grown, but the way they are behaving is different. Why is it so? This was his question. The researcher who was doing this study, he wanted to find out why this is happening. So he went out to the son, who is the eldest son, and then asked him, why is it that you have become like this, what you are today? So the eldest son replies, what else could I become? I have seen my father, and I have learned this habit of what I am today. Therefore, I am drinking. So he said, okay, well, fair enough. And then he went to the second son. And then the second son, he asked the question, why are you like this? You have grown in the same environment like your elder brother, in the same family, to the same parents, in the similar environment. But why are you like this? So the second son replied very nicely that, what else can I become? With a father like this, I would have become what I am. So if we see, both the sons have replied in the similar manner, but the difference is in their approach. It is not the situation, it is not the environment that is important where one grows. The deep down is the meanings that one associates with that situation, with that environment, that he formulates in his conscious state a kind of a behavioral pattern. It doesn't matter whether it is the environment or whether it is the situation. What matters is the conscious meaning that this individual is carrying in his consciousness. That is the key of different behaviors of every individual, though growing in a similar kind of an environment, behaving differently. Hopefully, I would have addressed that particular issue of yours. So it is the meaning which is more important than just the words. The words per se doesn't mean anything, but the meaning I am going to associate with that word when it is spoken by the other person to me. For example, if I say Amma with love and affection in my tone, in my pitch, and I have a very good relationship with my mother, then the meaning I will associate is love and affection. But when I say Ni Amma, for example, there is an expression of anger, or there is an expression of some kind of a dissatisfaction in the tone or in that voice, or I might be having a hard relationship with that particular individual, and the meaning I will take to my life is this, that it is hatred or it is dissatisfaction. So per se the word doesn't have anything, but the meaning which I'm going to put into my conscious mind is what is going to make a difference in my output as a behavioral pattern, in terms of my actions, or in terms of my reactions, or in terms of my responses to a particular issue or a particular situation. That is what is going to happen in the behavioral patterns of an individual. So that is why there is a difference between one person and the other person, though they are growing in the similar kind of an environment with all the similar kind of resources. It is their meanings that they are associating with the words and the conscious mind what they are trying to apply. Now, what is happening with this kind of a story? The scriptures give us a cues. They give us some kind of pointers that, look, there is nothing called as a right or wrong. There is nothing called as good or bad. At a particular conscious state, the moment we start growing in this religion activities, or in this kind of a spiritual activities, what it offers us is a perspective, a kind of a dialogue within ourselves. It offers a dialogue first within ourselves. Then these kind of a questions and a dialogue which happen within myself, I start interacting with the others in that perspective. Maybe if I find a good teacher or a good friends or a circle of friends where we can interact and then find out a kind of a solution, I start triggering those questions. Try to find a solution to my triggering question, because this question which is there in the heart is like a thorn. It is like a thorn. It keeps on pricking us whenever such an issue crops in, or whenever such kind of a situation arises, and then boop, it triggers in the mind, because still I am not finding a appropriate solution to that, and that is also a kind of suffering which we experience to ourselves. Though it is not my suffering, the other person is not behaving properly, but he is going to be hung, or he is going to hell. Though he is being given birth by the God, it is the God's will which is happening, but this suffering is happening in me. That person is okay by himself, but this suffering is happening in me. So therefore, I need to find out a kind of a solution within myself, so that I don't experience this suffering in my conscious being. I don't experience that suffering. For this, there is the vidya, or the knowledge, or the wisdom that is required, which is once again offered by the scriptures, especially scriptures like Bhagavad Gita and Upanishads. They really offer fantastic scenarios, case studies. They are so nice dialogues which are happening between one and other. The output of reading such kind of scriptures is this, that my suffering starts reducing. my mind starts becoming more balanced. My behavior, therefore, outside becomes more balanced. I will not become judgmental about the other person just based on a particular scenario, because I start seeing in the other person myself. The moment I start seeing the myself in the other person, then I know as a person, that person is the person of the God, or he is the person of an Atman. I start seeing the Atman. I don't want to call whether he is a spiritual or a religious person. He is following the processes, he is not following the processes, he is doing good deeds or bad deeds. After certain level, in our own conscious state, we start identifying there is nothing called as good or bad. It is only a degree of goodness. In the degree of the goodness, we are calling it as good or bad for easy understanding purposes. But there is nothing called as bad. There is nothing called as darkness. Everything is light, for example. Or there is nothing called as light. Everything is darkness. The presence of light, the other one is absent. The darkness is absent. The absence of light, the darkness is present. So that is what it is. And what is the yardstick for this? Even the scriptures tell you what are the yardsticks. So we got to measure, because we come from the background of a corporate world. We want to act smart. Smart, when I'm saying, we want to be specific on an issue, we want to be measurable on an issue, we got to be seeing whether it is achievable or not, whether it is realistic or not, and whether it is time based or not. If it is not smart, we don't want to accept the solution, whatever that is. We don't want to accept this. The same thing the scriptures offer to us. It offers us smart solutions. The timeline would vary from individual to individual. There is no specific timeline which is common for everybody. One shoe fits everybody doesn't work. It is specific to an individual. It is an individual's journey. It is your journey. The suffering is your suffering. The consciousness level is your consciousness. Therefore, very clearly, the Upanishads or the Bhagavad Gita or the scriptures per se, the Vedas, the various practices, they help us to come to this samyama, to a balanced state of mind, to a balanced state. It offers various kind of an approaches, like what Dilip Garu also has highlighted. It offers various types of approaches to do the dusting part, the dusting part. So the dusting part is the clear cut activity. Now the question comes, should we become judgmental? The moment you are balanced in this particular kind of an approach, 100% you will not become judgmental. You will accept the other person as it is, and your suffering will start coming down, and it will be zero. You will not experience pain, but you will accept, you will become so compassionate to the other person that you would want to offer him a solution, because you have now got the jnana, you have got the vidya of how to be in this balance. You will be so compassionate with love and affection that you would want to share to the other person, boss, this is the knowledge, this is the approach what you can have and experience for yourself to not experience that suffering. Because there is nothing called as a hell which is there outside somewhere. The hell is already here within now. The hell is already now within here, individual self. It is there within yourself. It is our responses, our actions. I will never say it is our reactions. Most of the time, when we are not balanced, it is our reactions. But once we are in a balanced state of mind, it is our responses. It becomes our response. How we want to respond to this in a very balanced manner. What is the meaning I want to take to this in my life? How is it going to impact me? And then I am going to impact back the society. this conscious vichakshana jnanam, which is called as the discriminating ability, starts working better and better in us. Whether there is a life after this birth or not, the scripture says it is there. I also believe it could be there. I haven't yet experienced it. Very clearly, I haven't experienced whether there is life again after birth or not. But right now, in this life itself, every moment I'm going through death, every moment I'm going through life. This is a fact of thing. Whenever I am suffering, I am really dead. Whenever I'm in a state of happiness, I am life. Whenever I'm able to create a solution to a given problem, then I am life, alive. I am not able to offer this kind of solution, or neither am I able to do something about it. I am dead to that particular issue or activity. So this is how the entire approach becomes to an individual a different perspective, a scenario. This is the benefit of running through the scriptures. Especially just now we had discussed on the space of Upanishads on the other side, and there I just had written a notes where it's talking on the Upanishads of Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, where it says that you are what your deep desire is. As your desire is, so is your will. As your will is, so is your deed. As your deed is, so is your destiny. This is from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, because you have requested if I can send a scriptural reference to what I am saying. I try to find out that kind of a thing. So hopefully I have addressed your questions. And if there is any lacuna there, please do give your thought process. And I would request you, Sandeep, to share your points on the various comments you have heard, and what is the action plan which you want to take, and what is that you suggest people with such kind of a question should take as an approach. Over to you, Sandeep.
To be very honest with you, I have still not got an answer to my thought process which was there. What you have touched is probably maybe partially what Dilipji said about being on the religious side. There is no good, there is no evil. And I need to hear this recording probably once again. And what you mentioned about the example that you gave, that was exactly my point, that in the same kind of a circumstances, there are two people who come out to be completely two different individuals. Now, it is the thought process which has come also. Now, outcome of the same circumstances is two different thing, is again God's will. That's exactly the point which I was saying. In fact, so if you remember the example that I gave of ourselves also, that we all are from the same
Sorry
school.
to interrupt you there, Sandeep. Sorry to interrupt, because I want to have it like a discussion also here, where we are saying that it is the God's will. What I'm trying to highlight there is, it is not the God's will. It is my free will. The meaning which I'm associating to a given situation or a given same scenario, what is the meaning I am giving to my conscious mind? I have this free will within me. If I don't exercise that free will within me, then we cannot blame God. That's the point I'm trying to drive.
Okay.
Over to you, Sandeep. Hopefully I would have made it clear. I'm not saying it's God's will. It is, God has offered us a tremendous tool within ourselves. It's called as the free will. It is our will. Now the other person who is performing such kind of a thing is because of his ignorance. He's doing that is because of his ignorance. What is that ignorance? That ignorance is avidya. He is not yet aware of such kind of a things, that there is this alternative method of looking at the same scenario. There is a no proper mentor or a proper guide for him to give this advice and a knowledge to him, and he should have that a will and a consciousness to work upon the given solution. If he's not able to work upon it, again he is exercising his free will. He's exercising a choice. So we are all constantly being offered with choice and opportunities, alternatives. We are always given a choice. It is a choice of the individual who is making it. That's my take. I think Dilip ji has raised his hand. May I request Dilip ji to continue on his point?
Actually, Sandeep, I don't know. Maybe you need to rephrase your question again. But I would like to add a few more things to what I had earlier said. First thing is, you had mentioned that you come from, you're a Sikh by religion, you're a Sardar. So one of the very good thing about Gurdwaras, which I would like to mention here, and why I would like to mention it here is because why I would like to mention here is because it breaks down when I said dust of the layers of dust you remove, and that actually we could collectively call it as the I or the ego, So one of the practices which is followed in Gurdwara, which is very useful to dust off that ego, is people who when you enter a Gurdwara, people who take care of your shoes, or you wash your feet and wash the utensils, serve the people. So in your actual life, you may be a CEO of a company, but when you go there, it sheds whatever. You may be an MBA from Harvard, or you may be an uneducated guy. You're treated and in the same way, and you do the same things. So you bring down people to a human level. That is actually the first step in knowing or getting close to yourself. So these questions which you are having will not arise. This is one point. The other point which I would like to give a small example or an analogy, which is very oft quoted by in the spiritual circles. It is very oft quoted, which is of a screen, of a movie screen. Imagine you enter a cinema theater and you start watching a movie, and it's a very emotional movie. You cry with it. If it's some comedy part comes in, you laugh with it. And what is happening is you're getting identified with the movie as a user. So there is an object and there is a subject. So the subject and object are getting identified with each other. So but if you look at the screen per se, the screen doesn't get identified. Suppose there is a very tragedy scene which is running on the screen doesn't become wet. Okay. Or if there is sun shining or a fire happening in the scene, the screen doesn't burn. So the screen remains unaffected by what is happening there. So the correct identification of me is that of the screen. So I don't get attached to, or I don't get identified with things. I'm not the person who is watching the movie. I'm the screen which is helping to project or helping to run that movie. So I am the means to run the life of of that particular life which the body is representing. So the identification has to be correct. So what Bhakti Marga does, or what a Gurdwara does, is to drop that. First thing is to drop that identification, to drop that ego. So once you drop that, you don't these questions don't arise at all. When everything is me, then there is no good and bad about it. I'm not going to harm myself. I'm not going to do bad things to myself. So the question of, like, if two people raised in the same house, both brothers, one becomes a crook and other becomes some different type of person, is because, like Niranjan said, how you ascribe a meaning to it, and this can happen with, when I say ascribe a meaning, means you're giving an identifier to it, so if you identify, if one brother identifies in one way, other one identifies in another way, then there is a dichotomy there, that one is good, one is lesser good, one is more good, or one is good or one is bad, or whatever degree, or one is less bad, one is more bad. So you could have variation, and these are all words, and words is a concept made by man. Everything which we are talking of is all concept made by the man. We have to move beyond that. We have to transcend that, so that identification is very important. The Bhakti Marga says drop the identification. First thing is you drop the identification. Don't come to my place of worship thinking that you are the CEO, and once you come there is a red carpet for you waiting, and then which is pampering or reinforcing your ego and your thoughts, that you're making you look more bigger than what you are actually are, so those things are not shown. So what the place of worship is telling you, that drop your ego. You go and wash utensils. You go and wash the feet of people who are coming, worshippers who are coming there, That's the biggest ego breaker, That's the best ego breaker which you can have. And that parallel you don't have in any religion. Actually, that's the best part, and I would say don't go to Tirupati. I would say go to the nearest Gurudwara and serve people, That will tell you, that will bring you down close to what your awareness or your awakening, your basically consciousness and awareness. It will bring you close to that. It will help you to drop all those layers, drop the mind, drop the ego. Those are the key things which needs to happen. Otherwise, we will all keep on saying words and ascribing meaning to it, because mind is like that, Mind will make up stories. Even if I tell you a story or an anecdote or an analogy, if it fits into your framework which is there inside your mind, you will gel with it. Otherwise, you will reject it. So the thing is here is to cross the mind. So once you have crossed the mind, then these bifurcations and trifurcations will not be there. You will be a pure soul. So you have to come down to that status of pure soul. That awareness, that consciousness, which is very important. Otherwise, you will not. Devotion, Bhakti Marga will bring you to that. So you forget. You don't judge people. Devotion means total choiceless awareness. Choiceless means I don't choose anything. Whatever it comes to me, I use it. It is like, for example, and I have given this example in the other group, is that you bring a rose flower to an adult. He will say it is red in color, its fragrance is like this. So he will have so many, and it is called rose. So he has got a label, he has got full, uska kacha chitta uske paas hai. So he knows in and out about the rose, So his mind is full of all those rubbish. All I have to bring close to him is, even if he closes his mind, closes his eye and bring a rose in front of him, he will say that, okay, this is rose, and this is red in color. So his mind is full of all that identification. But take the other extreme, you take the rose to a small infant who has never seen rose in his life. So how will he look at it? There is no judgment. There is pure innocence. To that level, I should be operating if I want to be close to my consciousness, if I want to be close to my awareness. Then good and bad does not arise. Then there is nothing scripted or unscripted. Everything is pure, everything. See, we are all living a very psychological life. I'm just digressing a bit now. We are all living a very psychological life, which has been scripted by the society, which is why the word comes into our head that it is scripted, non-scripted. Society has decided over a period of time, today it has evolved to this state. Earlier also there was some rules. There were some rules 100 years back, 200 years back, 1000 years back, 5000 years back. There were some rules made by the society, and everybody is following those rules. If you are not following those rules, you don't fit into that society. So here the script, I may have a different point of view here, is that the script may be written by the society and forced down your throat. And that society could be your parents, that society could be your relatives, that society could be your friend circle, that society could be your school, your college. They have made and they have, but you were convinced at that point in time that that is the best thing to slice bread for you, so you will go ahead with that. But what you're doing is you're following the norms set by the society, which is being forced down upon you. But if you take at your childhood innocence, that stage, you will not follow. You don't know. I mean, you would like to live a life of this thing, live life as it comes. You wouldn't like somebody else to script for me, that you have to become an engineer, you have to become a doctor, you have to become so and so, so and so, you have to become a CEO, you have to go to Harvard, you don't have to do this, or a shopkeeper telling his son that you have to become a shopkeeper, sit at the galla and count the money and do business for me. So this is all scripted. Where is my will? Nobody is asking for my will. Everybody is forcing things down my throat. Where is my free will? There is one beautiful story in one of the, I think it was Chandogya Upanishad, which was again, it was about one king. He sends his son attains 12 years and he sends him to Gurukul and he says, okay, go study there. He studies there for around 12 years. He's away from his father. When he comes back, and he comes back with a very kind of a proud feeling in him to an extreme, that I'm an educated man, and now I have done this, I know the medicine, I know the astrology, astronomy, everything I know. So his father asked him just one simple question, that do you know yourself? Who are you? So he stumped. He said, my guru did not teach me this, so I don't know. So he said, okay, go back and study and come back. And he said, no, the guru doesn't know about this. So his father teaches him what is self, So there is a dialogue between the father and son. So one has to, I won't go into those details, but then the key question here is, who am I? So if you want to do a spiritual seeking, you have to ask yourself, who am I? So every point in your life, till the point you have to ask this question, till such time you come to a cul-de-sac that there is no way to go, now. That will answer your question. Basically, all the questions of life, who am I? Keep on asking, who's doing, who's that person? So we need to come to that kind of point, that I don't have any answer beyond that. So that will reach you to that point that you will say that I am consciousness, I am awareness. And actually, we all have a different meanings. We are ascribing different meaning to consciousness. Consciousness, many people think that is wakefulness. Wakefulness is not consciousness.
That's right.
Wakefulness is wakefulness. Consciousness is something different, it is like, for example, there's another example given. I'll take a little bit more time. An example given of a clay pot. so when you see a clay pot, or I bring a pot in front of you which is made out of clay, and I ask you, what is this? You will say it's a clay pot. But if you look from any angle, you see only clay. So where is the pot? So if I take the clay out of it, what is there? There is nothing, you know. So consciousness is like that, you know. So consciousness is the base of everything, you know. So if you take out the consciousness, body has got no meaning. The other thing has got no meaning. So it will also collapse. So the key thing is consciousness, which is holding everything, body, mind, everything is in. So it is like when you're seeing something through your eyes, who's seeing that? Eyes are not seeing that. Eyes is only a tool, okay? But who's seeing that, you know? It is like I'm standing inside my room, the window is the eye, and I'm looking outside. So this being who's inside is the consciousness which is watching it. So that is your true self, you know. So one needs to go into depth question. It is not necessarily that you go through spiritual scriptures, but scriptures will hasten up your study or hasten up your knowing. You can discover, somebody has already discovered it over a period of thousands of years. He has the studies, he has discovered it. But today, uh, if I have to do reinvent the wheel, as they say, anybody can reinvent the wheel. You know, I can come to the same conclusion but I have to apply my the soul and heart and everything into it, and then I'll come to the same level of knowledge. And I will know that the base thing is consciousness, against which I'm pure consciousness. So you'll come to that level. But if you don't have that time at your disposal, you study what is there available and then come to that conclusion, you know. But that experiential has to be done by, you know, reading will make you only the knowledge will be there, knowing will not be there, you know. So knowing comes from experience. So just by reading Upanishad, I will not become enlightened. Okay, and for becoming enlightened, I have to experience that, you know. Otherwise, enlightenment is not possible. Otherwise, you would have had so many people, enlightened being, walking on the planet Earth, you know. So that comes from experience. So like I said before, I can talk many hours. I think a few people have left also.
It's already
But
10:50 now.
yeah,
That's what I
so
was telling Sandeep also the other day. These kind of discussions will never end in 60 minutes or the 45 minutes. It never end. It's
so
quite a challenging
I don't
scenario.
know. It's a very kind of a difficult, not difficult question, but it's a very crucial question which requires deep insight and
That's right.
deep study and deep introspection, you know.
That's right.
However, if I might talk for 10 hours or 15 hours, it will not, maybe you will catch something worth 5 minutes of that will get into you. But if you experience 1 hour, it will give you like 10 hours of knowledge or 10 hours of knowing, you know. So that is what is key, you know, experiencing, you know. So best thing is, my suggestion to you, Sandeep, would be you go uh, start going to the gurdwaras and all, or places where they break your ego down, you know. They bring it down to the ground level, bring you down to ground level. You do those kind of things, you know, which will make you lose your ego. I think that's the starting point.
That's right.
So,
So I think
sorry.
maybe Sandeep wants to give his concluding remarks. Before that,
So,
Anand wanted to say something. Anand, please.
yeah. Just I want to add a couple of points, not take long time. So, I very well said, Dilip Garu. I totally appreciate the way you put it. I could correlate first two things. One is from Sandeep's point of view, God's will and the free will, which Niranjan has very beautifully said, that what the Lord is expecting, that at any moment what the Jivatma, how he is exercising his free will. That is the kind of expectation from the Lord, that every moment to moment, how we are exercising our free will to be in the righteous path, to do the right thing and to say the right thing, right? Now, because the people who are suffering have not used the time and the moments, opportunities given by the Lord in the previous birth or in this birth, because they have not utilized the opportunity in the right way, and knowingly or unknowingly they have committed so many offenses, and they are reaping the fruits of it every moment, the current moment. Like I said in one of the Bhagavad Gita class, the fructified fruits, the fructifying fruits, and the fruits to be fructified from the. So every moment, every karmic activity is like a seed which we are sowing on the ground. So the important point is God's will is always superior. He is the supreme cause of all causes. He is always the cause of all causes, the Sarva Karana Karanam. He is the cause of all the free wills also. He is the supreme will who is cause of all the free will also. Yet for the sake of the Leela or the pastimes on the different parts of the universe, he has given the free will to the Jivatmas. Okay. Now coming to the second point, which Dilip Garu has beautifully said, I just want to touch upon that, which is an extremely important point, and which is the kind of the ripened fruit of all spiritual endeavors. That the one quality which we have to attain in our spiritual progress is humility, and humility is we don't have enough words to express. It's such an important quality, which is the underlying foundational quality which will help us constantly remain rooted to our grounds, and to be on the righteous path, and constantly be in the mode of remembrance, which all the scriptures are telling us to do, that always be in the mode of remembrance of the Paramatma. So these are the, in order to be in the mode of remembrance all the time, the foundational quality is the humility. Just I want to quote one shloka from Chaitanya Mahaprabhu in this aspect. He said, because he had given only 8 verses as instruction, the Siksashtakam, one of the verse states, Trinadapi Sunichena Tarorapi Sahishnuna Amanina Manadena Kirtaniya Sadaharihi. So he says, in order to constantly chant the name of Lord Hari, he says that you have to be, if you are able to be lower, consider yourself lower than the grass or straw on the street. A straw on the street is so humble that everybody can trample on it. And you have to be more tolerant than a tree. There's nothing in the world more tolerant than a tree. So these are the examples he's giving, that in terms of tolerance and humility, if you are able to be in that state of mind, in such a humble state of mind, that is the prerequisite or the required quality to be in the constant mode of remembrance of whatever path you take of the Lord, of the Almighty. And if you are in the constant remembrance, you are definitely on the path of righteousness, and you are the path of to reach the ultimate goal of perfecting our lives. Yeah, thank you so much.
So can I request Sandeep to give his concluding statements? Thank you.
To be honest, I'm not right now in the correct frame to give you a concluding statement. I would like to mull over the thoughts which I have assimilated from whatever people have spoken. Everybody has spoken. I would like to hear the recordings once again, and then figure out. But 2-3 things which have kind of got registered. One was that free will thing that you spoke, Niranjan. I think that was one key point which I take away. Second thing, what Dilip ji spoke about on the ego bit. We do let that a little bit. Just that my periodicity of visit to the mandir or to the gurudwara. We follow a Guruji, so his mandir is in Gurgaon. So there's a lot of this activity which happens there, which we call as the seva. So my visit right now, I don't know, with this kind of situation prevailing, how much I would want to do right now. but that is surely one thing which I take home. Beyond that, I don't know right now. I need to hear the recording once again. Maybe something will click after I hear the recordings again, the recording of everybody's views beyond. Um, that's for now. I don't know how I'm going to I'm going to do aage. I have no idea right now. So I'm not in a position to give you a concluding comment. I would like to leave it here. I will not push myself to take a decision on anything. I would like to hear it and then probably then share it with you guys.
Fantastic. That's a good thing. Very wise thing. I would also want to really revisit and then see this video. I'm not going to do any editing. I'm going to share the same thing on an as-is basis of this on the YouTube. I will upload it and then share the link with all the friends in this group, so that we all can review any pointers or anything. Let's make some notes. It could be video note or a voice note or a notes per se, and then we can form a separate group for this discussion and then share those comments and views in that particular group. Is that okay?
Yeah, it's
Right, okay,
okay.
Rajan.
It's okay.
Yeah. So then we will have a solid form of a content through which probably these dialogues is not directly referring to Sandeep alone, but it is also referring to me and to each of us in this particular scenario. There could be some person who might benefit out of our discussions. At the end of the day, let society be happy. That's the kind of a thought process with which we will take this forward. And then I'll share it on a open public platform. Is that okay?
Yeah, okay, fine.
Okay, great then. So
Right.
thank you, Shri Dilipji, for your wonderful participation here.
Dilip sir was
You
very
wanted to
nice.
say something?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Dilip
thank you,
sir,
Sandeep.
special thanks.
Yeah.
Dilip sir,
Yeah.
special thanks.
Thank you, Sandeep. Thank you.
I liked it, the way you put it across. Key points, I really loved it and liked it very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
I
Yeah.
have practiced
sir,
that in my life.
Thank you.
I do agree, sir. Dilip sir, it was really wonderful to hear you.
Yeah.
So much.
Thank you. Thank you, Anand. And thank you, Sandeep.
Yeah, it's fantastic. The
Thank
kind
you.
of
Thank you, everyone. Actually, thank you, Niranjan and
Welcome.
Satish and Madhu, everybody, and those who have left,
Yeah.
I think Annie and
Sujata
Sujata
Garu
madam led fairly so, because I think it's working
Getting
day
late.
for them. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah.
No, Anne is in US, so she will be
Okay,
starting her day.
That's right.
So
Okay.
Yeah. So actually, your presence here also, Dilipji, is adding a lot of value and
Grace,
thought
definitely.
processes.
Yeah.
A lot of thought processes and different kind of perspectives,
Correct.
which we all need to listen constantly, because we are what our thinking goes on. So we
Yeah.
need to feed the inputs, garbage in, garbage out. So therefore, we got to be putting right thoughts in our mind constantly. It's an
Correct.
effort. It's a regular
Yeah.
effort. So I think it's a good thing that we are progressing. Thank you all. I'll share the video link on the YouTube once it is uploaded. So appreciate Sandeep for your initiative and your thought processes and questions. Thank you, Anand, for your elaborative thought processes. Thanks, Satish, Madhu, and
Very
Dr.
nice.
Sujata Garu as well on this particular thing. And Annie was there, a very nice listener and participative. Hopefully, we will have more listening from Annie as well, and especially a very elaborate and deep dive into various thought processes by Shri Dilip Ji Garu. Thank you so much. And then it's a wonderful discussion. Such kind of a discussion we'll have it on the second Saturday and fourth Saturdays. So as far as these kind of discussions is concerned, the rest of the other two Saturdays, normally we are doing Monday, Thursday and Saturday, a discussion on Bhagavad Gita, shloka by shloka. So if you are interested, you are all welcome to participate in that particular thing as well. Yeah. Thank you then. Have a good night. Shubhratri.
Yeah.
Niru,
Chep Madhu.
Namaste re.
Niru,
Madhu, Chepu, Vintuna.
ఏమైంది?
వింటున్నావా? Least but last but
Last
not
but not
the
the least.
Yes.
అదే.
Thanks to Sandeep for posing his question, and this group started discussing on a lot of aspects. First of all, appreciate and thanks to Sandeep. Thank you, Sandeep. Sandeep is there?
He's there. Thank you.
Madhu, you are getting into a trap. मेरे पास ऐसे question है that bloody you will not be able to sleep then.
Let us hope. That's what
We are waiting, Sandeep.
15 August.
No, no, no.
We are waiting.
At least I'll try to answer it. At least I'll learn. At least I'll start attempting it at least.
We are all learners actually.
I may be not giving you a right answer, but at least I'll try to start answering you. At least start.
No,
course,
if not
Maybe
answering,
not.
at least we will
Maybe
think in that direction. We will
at
start
least
analyzing. That's
at
the
least
key part. That
at
discriminating
least I'll
ability.
not get. No, at least I'll not get the first rank like Jnyana. I may be a backbencher, but okay, I'll at least try to answer it.
Jay Anand, another salvo thrown at you by another individual.
See,
Sandeep
it's
is
already
setting the.
2 hours, Sandeep. Just for your time note, 9 o'clock we started. It's 11 now.
It takes 10 to 11 hours to discuss this. Yeah.
Yeah, correct. Chalo then. Good night. Shall we say
Very
good
nice.
night?
Yeah,
Sandeep has
okay.
set the
We'll connect
wild
again.
goose
Thank
Chalo
you.
then.
Thank
among
you,
the
everybody,
pigeons.
for being so
Good night.
patient.
Good night.
Thank you.
Oh,
Shubharatri.
Sandeep,
Bye.
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 Lovely, bye.
Bye. Bye, Anand.
Bye.
Anand, bye.
Madhu, bye.
Bye.
Dilip
Good
ji,
night.
bye. Bye, Madhu.
Bye.
See you. Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye. Good night.